Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. Noobster here with another Wonderlands Psych Outriders video. Guys, it's been a while. I finally hopped back into Outriders. I got the new Worldslayer DLC, and let me tell you guys, it is a boatload of fun. So you guys can see I'm on my Devastator here, and guys, Devastator is just awesome. It's so good with this DLC. I've just been having so much fun because I don't die, and I can deal a ton of damage with this Anomaly build here. So, guys, if you haven't got this DLC, give it a try. I mean, I honestly think it's worth it. But if you're far gone from Outriders, don't worry. I still have Wonderlands videos coming soon to you guys. I'm just having a bunch of fun with Outriders. So, thought I'd post my first build for Worldslayer here. Anyway, this is a Devastator build, and let's go ahead and look into the skills and some of the skill trees that I'm procced into. So guys, the skills we're using are Earthquake, Reflect Bullets, and Gravity Leap. And as you can see, the cooldowns are pretty low here. We got 4.3 seconds for Earthquake, 8.4 for Reflect Bullets, and 7.6 for Gravity Leap. And in fact, for Reflect Bullets, we're not going to actually be using this in its entirety. So when we get rid of its, or we end the skill early, we'll actually get our cooldown back. So basically, we get to proc this in about a second or two, basically however long we hold it. So anyway, let's hop right into the actual skill tree and also the Pax Tree. First off, we'll run through this real quick. It's basically the same setup as I have for my first ever Devastator tree. This is just for the any AP build, really. It's generic. We're going into all the anomaly power increases. We're going into all of the cooldown. Some of the key things here are Paladin. Paladin is going to be the main reason why we're actually using Reflect Bullets, and you could use Golem instead, but Golem you can't end prematurely, so basically you have to wait for the entirety, and I think it actually has a pretty long cooldown. So if we take a look, if we go to Golem, you actually have a 10-second cooldown. And with the Reflect Bullets, we can actually just get rid of all of our cooldown, basically, because we can end it prematurely and get up to 90% of our cooldown reduced. So for us, it's about a second, maybe two, where we're actually going to have to wait. But Reflect Bullets, we basically have almost 100% uptime on. But now, going back to the tree, so the next few things that are kind of important, so we have resistance piercing, and that's also why we go into strong arm of the anomaly. Now, with my current setup, it's not actually as useful, but there is a mod, Unstoppable Force. If I am able to roll that, this would increase my damage significantly. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and spec into them, and hopefully you would be able to enhance your build if you can get Unstoppable Force on your third piece for your Apocalypse gear. Anyway, another key thing that we're using is Protected by the Anomaly. This is going to increase our armor by 40% of our anomaly power. This is a huge survivability skill here. So basically, I keep this, even though Devastator is very tanky, it's good to have as much survivability as possible. And I think one point into this helps our survivability a ton. So I went ahead and went into there. Next, we have Skilled Sentry. This also somewhat helps with our survivability. Just a quick note that we wanted to get so we can go down the skill tree a little bit further. We have some more resistance piercing, and then we also have Earth's Heritage, which is another huge one because most of our damage is actually coming from our earthquakes, and this is going to increase our earthquake damage in general. So just a key skill that we want to have here. Some of the other things that are nice to have, I like the bleed effect a little bit too much, so I like to have Bloodbath. This is going to actually make our status a little bit better, so I sometimes just use one Earthquake on some of the mobs, and slowly they die away with the bleed effect. So I like to have 2 points in here. If you guys don't like this, you could spread them out other places, but I don't really use melee too much, so Strong Arm of the Law and other skills really don't matter to me. And honestly, this also doesn't matter because we don't have too much close range damage. So I kind of just like this setup. So yeah, pretty much spec into as much Anomaly Reservoir, going to some of the key skills that we pointed out here, and just go down the skill tree. The main thing is actually with the Pax Tree here. So with the Pax Tree, we have only 5 points to spend here, so basically you want to go down here. This is going to be the anomaly power. Up top is going to be a little bit more of the gun damage side of things. But for this is going to help us increase our anomaly power based on these skills. And as you can see, we're actually using both gravity leap and earthquake. So this is going to be a key skill, even though we have to go into this to actually get started in the Pax Tree. Next, we have puncture. This is going to be one of the things that sort of helps us take away one of our existing mods that we're using on our gear, and that is your earthquakes proc bleed. So this is going to automatically proc bleed based on your seismic skills, which includes earthquake. So, and on top of that, you actually get bonus anomaly damage to enemies that are afflicted with bleed. So this is just a nice skill to have. Next, we have Earth and Shell. This is a huge survivability mod. Basically, whenever you deal damage, you're going to be able to convert that damage into shields. So it's just overall a really nice skill to have. And on top of that, you have to spec into this if you want to go further into the tree. But regardless, you really want to have this because it's just a huge survivability thing. And honestly, this is probably one of the nicest skills to have in the entire Devastator tree as a whole. Next, we have Upheaval and Multi-Strike. These basically help, they kind of synergize together, and they basically help to get your damage for your earthquakes huge. So basically, the earthquake damage stacks on top of one another. I really don't know the logistics of it, but basically, the more earthquakes you use, they get stronger and stronger. Now, it's only for the 3. It's not going to be, they keep stacking indefinitely, but for the 3 that we have in our skills, each one that we activate is going to be stronger than the next one. So our third one, it basically does a ton of damage. These two are just essential, and honestly, I think they're kind of broken. So because the amount of damage they do is absolutely absurd. So it may get patched, but for now, Multi-Strike and Upheaval are just awesome skills to have in the Devastator tree. Next, we have our Ascension points. So guys, the Ascension points, you basically don't need to worry about these too much. They add small bonuses. Honestly, I was not getting a huge benefit from them. Other than the cooldown reduction, I really like the cooldown reduction. That just helps us a slight bit. So we went ahead and first spec'd into this. This is how I would prioritize it if I were you as well. Next, we would go into Anomaly power and Anomaly damage. Either or, honestly, I don't know which one is more important, so I went ahead and put 10 in each. And now I'm working on the one for elites. So this is going to help us do a little bit more extra damage to the elites. And these don't really have a cap on them, so the more you play, you can actually fill this out as much as you want until it's maxed out. So that's how I would prioritize. You can also go into status power. That's a big one. This is not really a key thing to worry about here. Next, let's talk about the gun mods a little bit. So guys, for the guns, I wouldn't be too specific on what we want to use. So we have a couple guns here. This is the one that I'm actually using primarily. This is the Final Penance. We have Mage's Rage on here, Fortress, and then we luckily rolled this with Firestorm. Guys, anything that really helps deal a bit of damage is good. Firestorm is a nice to have because it also inflicts burn, and on top of that, it's actually a really good mod in general. But you want to have Mage's Rage. I think Mage's Rage is one of the nicest anomaly power mods that they've added to this game. And on top of that, I also put on Fortress just to add a little bit of extra damage for us. And then another gun you would want to have is one that just has different status effects, but that primarily depends on if your armor supports it. So I'll talk about that in a bit, but this is a bad example, but basically this would be a better gun to use, the Deathscape. So this one has Omen and Stigmatize. Those would inflict Toxic and Bleed. And then on top of that, I could put a third one, so maybe tier 3 of either Freeze or of the Fire Bullets or even Ash Bullets. Either of those would be good, and basically if you have those mods that correspond, so Bullet Kindling, for example, the reason we have Bullet Kindling is because our Firestorm would actually inflict the burn, but just different status effects can give you a bunch of extra damage. Unfortunately, our armor doesn't really allow us to do that because we haven't gotten too lucky with the third mod on all of them. In fact, as you can see, 2 of them are actually just 2 mods, but it still works and it still does a ton of damage. I'm just letting you guys know a way that you can make your build a lot stronger. But my build is not min-maxed by any means. In fact, I'm actually able to put out a ton of damage even being under-leveled. So as you guys can see, all my guns are actually not even level 59. This is 57, my pistol is 58, and then my armor We have 58 here, 57, 57, 55, 58, and all the gameplay that I'm actually showing is with this exact setup. You can even see the final pendants here. But yeah, if you are able to get lucky with your rolls, so for example, I like Thunder's Legacy, so I went ahead and kept this, but I on top of it I put Bullet Kindling, mainly because of our Firestorm. Next, if I didn't get Human Comet and I got something like Ashen Boost or Euthanizer, I would have actually gone ahead and used this because this would help inflict Toxic on enemies. Unfortunately, I don't have mods like that. Another mod that I talked about earlier would be Unstoppable Force. So if you could roll that as your third mod in on any of your gear, that's actually a huge one to have as well. So I would try to get those mods. And just in case you guys don't know which mods I'm talking about, let me give you a quick rundown on all the mods that help with getting more damage based on status effects. So we have Ashen Boost here. Ashen Boost is a huge one. This is going to help deal extra 12% damage to those inflicted with Ash. We have Bullet Kindling. We're actually using this one. This is going to be for burn targets. We have a couple of freeze ones. So we have Freezing Boost, and we also have Shatter, which I actually don't have unlocked here, but I believe it is this one right here. For Toxic, we have Radical Therapy and Euthanizer. Euthanizer is also another one that I don't have unlocked. And then on top of that, we are using the one for Bleed, which is... I realized that I actually was looking at the pants, so the pants actually have Tainted Blood on them, but that's another skill that you really want to have. But yeah, just things like that, so whatever you can get that would help with getting more statuses, that's what you basically want to prioritize, and then you want to gun accordingly on your second slot that you can quickly switch over to, apply those status effects, and then do all that boatload of damage just based on these extra skills here. In our armor, first of all, you want to prioritize Anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and status power. Now, you can't get a cooldown reduction on all of your gear, just letting you guys know right up front. We are using the Ronin's Amigasa on our headgear here. This has Anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and status power, so we're good on that. This one actually rolls with arms and Anomaly, and then we actually switched the second mod to Bullet Kindling. And we got Thunder's Legacy. That's not really a must. That's just a nice to have. It kind of kills some of the smaller mobs. Next we have the Seismic Commander set. So we're actually using 3-piece Seismic Commander set. We're using the armor, we're using the pants, and then we're also using the gloves. So on the armor here, we have Captain Hunter. We got rid of our first mod there. And then we kept Earth's Legacy. Earth's Legacy is really nice. That extends our Earthquake range by 60%, so it becomes really long, actually. And so you want to keep that. And then we got Human Comet. Now, Human Comet is nice because it does make our Gravity Leap do a little bit of extra damage. But again, if you can get something else, it would be preferred. But I don't mind Human Comet here. It's pretty nice, and you know, if I can, until I can get something better, this is the one I'm going to be sticking with. Next, we have the Seismic Commander's legs. We're keeping Tainted Blood here, and then we also changed the second mod to put Extra Quake. This is going to let us use our 2 Quakes instead of 1. And in fact, we actually have a third Quake, which is actually called a second Quake mod. But yeah, on our gloves, that gives us 3 Earthquakes in total. And on top of that, we also have Ground Crash. This is going to increase our base damage by 162,000. That's a nice one to have as well. Just we're going to try to do as much damage with our Earthquake, so having this give us a flat increase is going to be nice to have. And going back to this for a second, our third mod we have here is Force Feedback. Honestly, not that nice to have. I would replace this with other mods if I had the chance. Now, one thing that I am considering, and I just got it, is this, which is Hollow Point, which is going to apply the vulnerable effect. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and stick with this because even when we do use our Reflect, we actually can do a little bit of damage because of this. So for now, I'm keeping this, but I think the vulnerable one is actually a bit nicer. And then we went through the gloves, and then the last thing we have are the boots. So on this, we have Anomaly power, status power, and cooldown reduction. And as you can see, we're using Despair. Despair is a huge, huge mod here. Basically, it's going to give us more Anomaly power whenever we use it. And so that's why we actually went into Gravity Leap. It's because you want to proc Despair at first, and then you're going to go ahead and use your earthquakes. And then the second mod we have here is Untamed Power, which is going to give us a little bit of extra anomaly power in general. We're not fully leveled up on these. There is definitely room to improve this gear. I would rather not use this glove, but honestly, you have to either use the gloves here. You can also use the boots, I believe. Yeah, you can use Second Quake on the boots, but I like the setup I have right now. Basically, I didn't want to use the headpiece here because we would have a dead mod because there's Ultimate Impaler, which we're not really using Impale at all, so that's kind of useless. And then next is Bloodshock, which, again, because of the Pax Tree, we really don't need this. So previously, when we didn't have our Pax Tree, this was the one that I was actually going to be using, just because we needed to inflict bleed for the Tainted Blood. But because now our Earthquakes automatically do it, we don't really need that. So instead, I kept this set up. That way we're using all our mods and we can actually get a benefit from them. A couple of mods that you would want to have is Unstoppable Force number 1. And then on top of that, if you can get any of those boosted status mods, Ashen Boost, Bullet Kindling, things like that, that is going to help your damage a ton. So if you can get those mods, your build can do a whole lot more damage than mine. And then don't bother about the other weapons. These are just other things that I was using. Again, as I was saying, you don't need to have this gun, right? You don't need to have the Final Penance. You don't need to have Mage's Rage and Fortress. It's fine if you just use something else and have only Mage's Rage or only Fortress. They help with your anomaly power a bit, so that's why I use them. And I thought stacking them actually gives me a bit of extra damage, but regardless, because you're going to be having huge survivability, you're going to have awesome damage, you just have to cycle it a couple of times extra if you don't have everything. Even now, I have to cycle through a couple times to kill the bosses. It's perfectly fine. You're still able to wipe them out. You're not really struggling to kill them because your cooldowns are nice. You're going to get everything back real quick, and you're pretty much good. So, real quick, going through the cycle that you want to use. In a gunfight, you want to first start off with, well, you'll actually need the gun, and you're going to actually try to get some critical shots. Now, this is primarily for bossing. If you're going against mobs, you don't have to do this. You can shoot a couple bullets. If you get critical hits, cool. If not, it's fine. They're mobs. They'll die quick anyway. But if you are going against bosses, go ahead and shoot them a couple times at the head. Get Mage's Rage procced up, and you'll also get Firestorm procced up in that case. Next, you want to quickly proc Reflect Bullets and end it quickly. That way you can get the bonus anomaly damage from Paladin here. Next, after that, use Gravity Leap to proc Despair, and then after that, you're just going to unleash all 3 of your Earthquakes and just watch the health bar get deleted. So that is the cycle you want to do. If you're going against mobs, again, you don't have to do this perfectly, but that is what you're going to want to do against bosses. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's a quick rundown. I know I haven't done this in a while, so if things were scattered, I am very, very sorry. It's been so long, and I really don't know the format of these videos, to be honest. I hope you guys still were able to understand. I will give a quick rundown again into everything I am using. So the Final Penance here, and then the actual armor pieces, and there you go. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know your thoughts. Let me know how I can improve this. I know it's kind of messy. But anyway, guys, if you do miss the Wonderlands content, don't worry. That'll be coming soon, too. Unfortunately, you can't really post saves for Outriders, or else I would have, and you guys could have used exactly what I'm using. But watch out for Wonderlands videos if you guys are still interested in that. If you like Outriders, I will be posting more videos for that for other characters as well. So be on the lookout, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, guys.